if the internet gods are blessing us, we are live. Johnny and the Greg. Everybody, give a heart or a like if you like Greg's.
If you like this background,
that background versus the one where his head's like this.
But you see, I wasn't quite. So this is camera one, and I'll switch up my camera here.
Yes, go ahead.
And then this is camera two.
Yeah.
So
we like camera one. I like camera one.
It's just I gotta.
Mom vote doesn't count unless it goes against you.
See, the mom vote is like, well, I like them both because he's a beautiful.
Yeah, that's
boy.
true. That's true. Because he's such a good looking man. I made him.
All moms say that. Like even in like my worst phase, my middle school, like giant glasses, bad haircut, stupid jacket, whole deal. They're like, Greg, it was attractive. I'm like, bullshit.
Moms are awesome. All right, here we go. Johnny, the Greg. Greg, let them know about Audible.
Well, we are partnered with Audible, home of hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, maybe audiobooks, where you can get podcasts, audiobooks, all those things for your listening ears to enjoy everything from fantasy to mystery to political stuff, which, hey, you might be interested in that this week. So go ahead. You can get 30 days free on us by going to audibletrial.com/JATG. Link is in the chat. So yeah, you click on that, get 30 days, listen to your heart's content. Everything that you get there, you keep. It is yours forever and ever. You don't have to return it, even if you end the service, which I think is really cool. So again, that's audibletrial.com/JATG.
There we go. Greg, how's your week, man?
It was good. It was my first full week at the new job. It was,
right.
Amongst all the stuff that was happening this week, I still had a pretty good week.
Yeah. That Roe versus Wade just kind of took over.
Yeah. Whatever you had going on this week.
Yeah.
Has been dwarfed by that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What do you think of it?
Wow, we're just going to jump right into.
Why not? I mean, what do you want to jump into?
Well, we talked about it even when it first came up, when the leaked documents came out. We covered that on our show. So I think my opinion is pretty out there. I'm both. I'm anti-abortion, but I'm pro-choice. So having a law that outlaws it or abashing, like not having it not be protected, or states that are going to just get rid of it altogether, I think that is unsafe in a lot of cases. I do believe, are we frozen? I think we're frozen.
Are we?
I think maybe, or maybe I'm just not playing it. That could be it.
Whatever.
I think, what was I saying? I was saying that
you sound like you're in the same in the same boat.
I believe that there are a lot of Americans that are in this camp where it is. Sorry, my cord is caught under my chair here. Oh. There we go. Now I'm good. Cord. It is the idea that access to safe abortions, I think, needs to happen because there are plenty of cases out there where it's necessary. And there's proof of that. Now, I believe that at conception, that is a clump of human cells. I believe that that's life. So I'm this weird in between. I believe rights have been lost or will be lost. I don't think it's going to decrease the amount of abortions at all. I think it's just going to decrease the amount of safe abortions. And I think it was a bad move by the Republicans in that, they've touted this thing. It could have been whatever topic you want. It could have been gun control, could have been abortion, could have been, they touted this as like their top issue. You've got what you wanted. You've pissed off more than half the nation doing it. Now what are you going to do? Like, okay, you've been given exactly what you wanted. Now, what are you going to do with that? What positive change are you going to make with that? What if they don't show like how this is better for the country? They have completely shot themselves in the foot.
How so? Shot themselves in the foot.
Well, because I mean, they're saying like this is, from the rights perspective. I mean, especially those extreme rightists where they're like, this is an atrocity, it needs to be stopped, and the country will be better off for it. You need to show how that is going to move the needle in a positive direction, how the entire country is going to benefit from this, and you have to do it quickly, or else those middle of the road people, maybe they've voted Republican in the past, saying, well, yeah, no, I agree with most of what they stand for, maybe not everything, but for the most part. And now, great, you got the keys to the kingdom. Do something with it. Do something positive.
Republicans or
Republicans?
Okay,
Republicans.
They voted this. Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
This is a totally Republican thing.
Really?
Yeah, conservatives. So now, again, it's that you've been given something that you've always wanted for the past 50 years. Now, what are you going to do with it? And if they don't do something positive with it quick, then you're losing ground, I think. And I think there's going to be a lot more repercussions than what they thought through.
There's just something that seems very un-American about it.
About taking away choice? Yeah.
Yeah, about taking away choice. And look, I'm with you. I'm in the same camp. I remember 8th grade, I had to do a debate, and we pulled the topic on abortion. And at the time of me being an 8th grader, my thought was pro-choice the whole way. And then I did research, and I saw videos, and I saw horrible things that quickly changed my mind and quickly told me that this isn't just like like, I don't know, like you have an allergy and you take an allergy pill and it's gone. It's not like that at all. I've talked to people who have recently had their lives changed because of the decision of abortion. Some are happy, some feel it's a regret in their life.
They feel a loss. Sure.
Yeah. But there's something very un-American about you don't get a choice.
Right. And I've been struggling with the idea of legislating morality. And I think I've talked about that on here before too. Yeah. And certain aspects of morality, everybody can agree on. You don't steal, you don't murder. I mean, there's those kind of things. And I know that the people that are very pro-life consider it murder, but a lot of the we'll call it civilized world doesn't. So you just get into this, like, how far down the morality road should we have laws for? Or is it? I mean, because then it becomes forced morality, which isn't morality at all. It's fascism.
Yeah, I really don't think there's. Let me go on a limb here. There isn't any morality out there. And what I feel like that is people stand behind it until, our entire, I think in a lot of countries are like this. We're not the only country, but we sit there and say, oh no, you can't murder. It's against the law unless you're doing it for us and it's for war.
I think that falls under a different category.
No, it's morality. You think God's going to sit there and go, well, you're under war. I get it.
Yes.
Because you really think that?
Sure.
I don't. So because
that's Old Testament. I mean, that's certainly something that existed.
But okay, so that's Old Testament. What's New Testament?
New Testament is love your neighbor as yourself. But that, I think under the idea of war, because in some cases it was forced. I mean,
well, I know. I think
warfare.
I think that is a loophole. I haven't done nearly the studies you've done when it comes to Bible and religious studies and asking the questions. I can't see God saying nobody can kill anybody. Oh, but if there's war, then I'll accept that, because who's to say who's right and who's wrong there?
Okay, but then show me the unforgivable sin.
I'm not saying there is one.
Well, exactly. And then that's why I think, like, we're legislating this morality piece, but then at the same time, that side is saying that there is no unforgivable sin because that's what Christians should believe. And I think that that's an oxymoron. And so then we try to legislate our beliefs into a system of government, which I don't believe in, because that is exactly what a lot of people are saying we should be fighting against with the religions that we don't agree with, where they're
Right.
that theocracy, that actually a religion is running the government, not the government running for all people. And we don't live in a Christian country.
No, we don't.
And,
I know we like to. I know we like to think we
yep.
do.
And I've had plenty of conversations with people of the boomer generation that are like, "Oh, yes, we do," and we don't. The less than 40% of the American population identifies with any religion at all, and even that's even less of them identify with a Christian denomination. So, and I mean, when we look at what our founding fathers wanted, they didn't want a country governed by any form of religion. They wanted to be for all people of all faiths. And so when we try to legislate one piece of morality, that's where I think we go too far. And the arguments of, well, all the founding fathers were Christian and they wrote the Constitution based on Christian principles. I don't believe that they did.
I don't think they were all. I don't know. I'm not a historian.
Right. There's plenty of research out there that would say that all of them were not Christians, or at least they were. I mean, maybe they went to church, but then they were part of different societies and different philosophies.
Right.
That didn't prescribe to all of those same tenets that the Christian faith would. But even under that, these are the same guys that held, hundreds of slaves and think women were not able to vote and not able to be educated and were just a step above property.
Couldn't do karate because their bones were hollow.
Yeah. And so there's a piece to that I go, okay, so we're going to pick and choose what we think the founding fathers thought. And so I don't know. So yeah, the idea that we're going to, and I'm to let you, everybody that's listening know, I mean, I feel the same way about even the war on drugs. That's just a moneymaker for the government and for certain aspects of people.
Do you think it started out like that?
The war on drugs?
Yeah. Like, do you think that was like Nancy Reagan's plan was to?
No, Nancy Reagan's plan was that the first lady had to have some kind of soapbox to get on, and so she chose that one. Meanwhile,
no.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we know that the CIA was a huge part of the cocaine trafficking and the drug market.
And I still think they're smuggling it through mattress stores. That's my personal thing.
Yeah, because no one ever goes in there.
No one goes in there. No one comes out. I never see anything happening. The lights are always on. They're building new ones every day.
Yep. And just the idea that we know that even the drug trade was targeting low income and minority neighborhoods so that they could try to, I mean, all of this is documented. We have, all uncovered things, and the people that did it have gone on record and said, "Oh yeah, we were totally doing that." And so, I mean, like, our government needs a shakeup anyway. But everybody's all caught up. I don't know. I find it interesting that, the January 6th hearings are still happening. And now everybody's talking about the Roe versus Wade decision. And all of a sudden we're kind of forgetting about what's happening with the January 6th hearings.
Yeah. Do you think that's planned, or do you think that's just the way America is?
No, I think that this is probably strategic at this point.
Strategic, but so it's almost to the point where they're like, these guys are so much idiots. They'll care about Johnny Depp for 6 weeks.
Yeah, like the Depp thing ended. I think that wasn't quite planned by the Republican Party. It just happened to align. But now they're like, everybody's paying attention. We're going to be found guilty on a lot of these things because we fucked up, and our supposed leader really fucked up, and we need something right now to take their attention away from that.
Yeah. So interesting.
Yep.
So interesting. God, we got deep. We don't do that.
Well, it's hard because, I mean, for the most part, the conversation is between you and I.
Yeah.
And we agree. a lot of stuff.
A lot of times we do agree.
So
Very, very, very few and far between we will find a moment where we go, wait a minute.
And it's usually about entertainment bullshit. So it really doesn't,
Yeah, that's true.
Doesn't matter on a lot of stuff. But on this, like I was racking my brain of like trying to, bring somebody on. And I think I might have a hard time if we brought somebody on that was so diametrically opposed to this that I would probably dig myself a hole into getting mean or to getting too far on one side, because I try to stay a centrist and I try to really take in both sides. But if someone's screaming that, I just found out a person I just met, she was severely abused, raped, beaten when she was in college and became pregnant and did get a plan B to make sure that she didn't have a baby because of that. And it was like, from what I understand, like a weekend event of her just being abused. And I'm like, motherfucker.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's,
and so you're going to tell me like, if that happened to one of my daughters, like, and I couldn't, I putting myself in that mind space, I won't be able to do that.
Yeah, it's very tough. I have a daughter too. So I'm anytime something's going on in the future now, I put it in her lap and think of, or what I mean by putting in her lap is I sit there and think, okay, how is she going to handle this? How is this going to affect her? How do I coach this or parent this when it comes up, if it comes up?
Now, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Go ahead. Go.
Well, because I did see, and I'm looking it up here. Did I not save the video? Oh, maybe I did. Good. So there's a guy on TikTok at Tizzy and Tizzyent, and he breaks apart different issues and things like that. He also, I really like him because he takes videos of individuals who are just being complete assholes on the internet. So like somebody yelling at like a teenage girl in an ice cream shop, calling her a racial name, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he'll take that video, research who that person is, because it's usually somebody getting away with being an asshole. And he's like, somebody knows this person. Yeah. Let's get their name out there. And I kind of agree with that. Like you hiding under the shadow of the internet or thinking that you get to act like that and think it's okay, I don't agree with. So he finds them out. But he dug into what is happening at the Texas level, Texas GOP right now. And after Roe v. Wade, now that they are going after a bunch of other laws, like Brown versus Board of Ed. And
so so break that. What's that one?
Brown versus Board of Ed is what made it. It broke down a lot of the Jim Crow laws.
Okay.
And I mean, Brown versus Board of Ed, I believe, was in 1953. So like my dad was 3 years old. So really not that long ago in terms of a historical perspective.
Okay.
But it's what forced schools to integrate instead of segregate. But Texas is going after their state laws that allow same-sex marriage, that they're going after their adoption laws. To make it so that, and it's not just blocking same-sex couples from adopting, but it's also putting in there that interracial couples should be investigated. Is this really what's best? So they're going to block, people that are just of different races. They're going after their voting laws, saying that.
So we're trying to go backwards.
They are trying to go back to, like, they want to establish voting laws that were established here in 1965. They want to strike down and say that this was some of the laws that made it so that made it easier for people of different races to vote, made it easier for women to vote. And Texas is like, yeah, we want to get rid of those. Like, we think that those should be.
Now, when you say Texas, you're talking about a small group, not all of Texas, right?
No, I'm talking about the state of Texas.
So the who's what is that a Republican state or that's a
Yeah,
Republican state, right?
they are.
So
Yeah. But they want, like, if you live in Texas, like that could be your future.
that you're not allowed to have same sex marriage, or you're not allowed to,
Correct. Or
or wait,
interracial couples adopting, or making it so that if you are of a different race or even socioeconomic standard, your voting rights might be impacted.
damn,
Yeah.
yeah. I find it hard. I'm not getting worked up just because I just feel like
It sounds impossible. Like some of the stuff we're talking about sounds like no no state or group of educated people would possibly go that far.
well, it's almost that it could happen simply because the people that are common sense won't do anything about it. And the like, what I mean by that is they won't actually show
Yeah.
up to vote because they don't even know.
Well, and
that's right.
that's the other thing. I mean,
Like,
we're
how many
still
people, how many in your neighborhood, how much do you know is really going on? Like, where's your taxes going? Have you gone to those, like, what do they call it? Town hall meetings where
yeah.
they go through all the things and you're supposed to vote on, like, are you allowed to get a new park, or are you allowed to, I've never,
voter turnout is still below 50%.
yeah, I've never gone to any one of those things.
No.
I guess I'm really not ashamed to say I'm not going to unless it's some sort of huge law that I have to.
But you do get out and vote.
Yeah,
in elections, and you do your research on candidates. This is still, I mean, on this show we've got 100% of voters, but voting in this country is still below 50% of eligible voters. So it's not like just half the population.
Yeah,
half of the eligible voters actually get out and vote.
So that's the only way this stuff could happen, is those people that give that, like,
Right.
oh, they'll go there. Nobody that, because there is this common sense. I think it's some sort of term where a common sense person will sit there and say, "There's no way this is going to happen." So I don't need to go down there and vote. That's not going to happen. And then, because what person in their right mind would do it? And then there's that person going in there and voting it. And next thing you know, it's against the law, or I'm not against the law, but what, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, gosh, we're not that fun today, are we?
Well, like I said, a lot happened this week.
Yeah, a lot happened. Yeah. Do you see us going closer to, I would say we're closer to a civil war than not.
Oh yeah.
But this civil war might be fought differently.
Oh, most certainly would. And I've said this before, that, I mean, I've read papers
that were already in one.
Well, that's one thing, but that the United States is way too big and way too diverse to really be one country for a really long time. I mean, we're young as far as countries go.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we're just over 250 years. So, so the idea of us making it to 500 or 1,000 years, I don't think that's possible.
Oh, I don't think we'll last that long. Not the United States, the world. I don't think. We're gonna leave it to Wally. We're gonna leave it to the AI, because that dude in Google, you heard about that guy, right? That guy that's like no longer in Google said, like, they created AI, like they were talking to it. It has emotions. Yeah. It's raring to go. It's coming. It's asking for rights and all this shit. It's over. So I have a cousin. His name's, you know him, Henry. He helped set up the podcast in its infancy. He was telling me there's no way it's going to happen. There would be all these fail safes put in. I'm like, well, if it's smarter than us and it becomes self-aware, how are you going to stop that shit?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah. What do we talk about now, Greg? We went heavy and hardcore. And the world's coming to an end. Well, it's a big thing. We had to talk about it.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always get weird when we want to talk about that stuff. I'm like, do we put that out there?
I hate talking about it, to be honest. But
because I mean, we can't move the needle in that respect, because we're two guys on a very, very small podcast. So, but maybe someone will listen to it somewhere our
Want to get
one
on?
our one Brazilian listener will be like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna figure
Right.
that out, man.
Right. I think we just had somebody in Japan download us last
Oh,
week.
really?
I think so.
Cool.
Yeah, that was cool. If they can understand us, I don't know. Maybe they did by
Yeah,
mistake
I
too.
mean, again, that is a
Yeah.
very say American centric. I know there's another word for it, but point of view is like that the most of the world speaks multiple languages and just not here.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's transition as hard as it's going to be to transition from something like that to something like this. We'll give it a shot. How was your weekend?
Pretty good, I guess. I mean, it's I'm prepping. I'm going on vacation starting tomorrow. So
Where are you going?
just up north, doing
Oh,
doing the Wisconsin Dells. For
the
those
Dell
of you
thing.
that don't know, the Dells is a very big tourist area here in Wisconsin.
It's the Las Vegas of Wisconsin.
It is, yeah. I mean, and a lot of people are like, we're going up north. No, you're still in southern Wisconsin when you're in the Dells. But, we decided to go, and I took I mean, we've been taking the kids.
Where are you going?
For, you know what? I don't even know the name.
Oh,
the resort we're going to. I kind of made an edict of, okay, we'll go, but I don't want to do anything that we've already done before. Like, I don't want to eat at the same places. I don't want to visit the same places. I just want to, because there's a lot of things to do in the Dells that we have never done.
I've never done.
Because
Are we talking about like a dinner night cruise where I think it's called a dinner haunted night cruise? We talking about that extreme?
We looked into that. We did. We passed on it because I think it's still dudes in rubber masks like jumping out at you.
For sure.
So yeah, there was like,
I don't think there's a lot of haunted history in Wisconsin Dells.
That's what I thought it was. I thought it was more of like a historical thing.
No,
it's not. It's
probably, remember how the beginning of Jungle Cruise starts with Dwayne? It's probably
kind of
like I rigging everything that jumps out at you.
But we've never just gone to Devil's Lake State Park, which is a beautiful state park, and just hiked. So we're gonna do some hiking.
Cool.
What else?
Are you guys hikers?
No.
So are you ready for complaining? Are you ready for it? It's hot?
Oh,
that shit.
Am I ready for it? Yes, I am.
Okay.
Are they?
No. Are you saying they're not ready for your response to that? Or
I don't like if they say, hey, we want to do the full circuit around the lake.
Yeah.
I think we might get halfway.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, they don't know what they're in for.
No. And these are actually pretty easy trails. They're not, it's not extreme hiking at all. There are some pretty cool like rock formations and stuff like that we can check out. So, I mean, it'll be fine. It is what it is. I'm more worried about the bug issue. Ticks and mosquitoes and stuff. So that'll be fine. But we're gonna go Driftless Glen Distillery. We're gonna go check that out.
Okay. All right.
I guess some friends of ours went there recently, and it's like, is that okay for the kids? Or like, people had kids everywhere. Like, it was like, oh, okay, well, we'll go do that.
You ever see that show Naked and Afraid?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you knew you weren't, I mean, most people won't do that, right? It's just insane. The only thing that would make me tap out of that immediately is the night of getting eaten alive.
Yeah. No.
I would tap out if a bug, like if 75 million mosquitoes decided to eat on me at the same time. Like the next day, what's weird is the next day they're out and they're all red. Like every bite is everywhere. But it's like either it's a one-time thing or they get used to it, but they never complain about it again, which is weird. It's always the first night. The next day they wake up, they never complain about it again.
Well, that's probably editing for one thing, but
I would like to talk to somebody like, does your skin get used to it? Or have you just do you just get bitten so much that at a certain point, you're just like, whatever.
You go ahead and reach out to somebody that was on that show, because that to me is like and we've had this discussion. It's complete trash TV. It's like,
What? You wouldn't do that?
no,
Oh no, not one bit.
no, not at all.
Okay,
Like,
if
dude,
there's no cameras, you wouldn't like to see if you could do it for like 3 days?
I have no need to know whether I can do that or not.
No?
No.
Okay. All right.
Nope. Nope. Not at all.
All right. I would give it a shot.
Just go be naked in the wilderness for 3 days.
Yeah, I kind of did the Bear Grill thing with my dad. We just grabbed I grabbed a knife, he grabbed a pan, and that was it.
Yeah, and I've known people that have done that, and I'm like, that to me makes slightly more sense than just going being naked in the woods.
We were about, I would say, 5. We didn't venture out farther than 5 miles from the car.
Yeah, well,
So
and
we didn't go that far out.
I had some friends that did that, and they're like, they made it as soon as they didn't catch any fish at all. They're like, nope. And then it was as soon as they were out of beef jerky, they called it and went back to the car.
Yeah. It's challenging. We ate the first night, we didn't eat the second night, and it's weird how fast, since your body's so used to it, how fast you actually get hungry.
Yeah.
We didn't bring a tent, so we tried to tough it out on the beach, which is a bad idea on the beach, because bugs do get you. But I was wrapped up like in a hoodie and shit, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But it was fall too, so there wasn't a lot of bugs out there. But it was tough, and I knew we weren't toughing it out.
Yeah,
it was 2.5 days, basically.
And I've done, like, my brother and my uncle and I wouldn't even call it toughing it out because we still had camping gear. We just didn't use tents. So I had it like literally.
Okay.
I had a
but
sleeping
to
bag.
some people, that's
I had a sleeping
game
bag
changer.
and a tarp. So I put the tarp over me.
Okay.
I was not prepared for the amount of condensation that would happen on the tarp.
Yep.
Both from the weather and then you're just breathing.
Yeah, your breath.
So you wake up and you're like, your sleeping bag is completely drenched. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm wet. And now I'm cold.
And we didn't make it real long because, I mean, it was like the camping trip from hell. My uncle had kind of set it up, and I was young. I was like in middle school, and this clearing place where we went was on a farm, and we were in like the back 40 of this farm. And
like 400 feet, 40 acres, 40 yards,
like the back 40 acres. And we're up on this bluff, on this bluff in New Glarus, Wisconsin. And like, you could see the farm and like the highway, and you could see all that, but it was a ways to try to get to there. And I guess where we were camping on this overlook, there used to be a windmill up there. And so when he pulled his truck in, there was still some rebar sticking out of the ground. Oh, and he blew out a tire, like boom, like exploded a tire. So then he had to change that. And while he was changing it, he like smacked his head on his truck and put a big gash into his head.
Oh man.
Yep.
He was like getting all these warning signs from God.
Yeah, to just like
turn back.
Maybe you don't want to do this.
Turn back.
And then the last night we were there, because he had a horse down in the barn, and somebody had driven up to like, Dave, you got to come back down and check on your horse. His horse had gotten its neck caught in a stanchion overnight. No. And so the horse kept bucking, trying to get out and completely rubbed its neck raw.
Oh no.
At like 3 or 4 spots. So they eventually get the horse out. They call the vet out there, and he's like, man, fuck it. We're done. And we packed up and went back to his house.
Yeah. I could see that calling it quits after that. Nothing's worse too of going out camping and it freaking pours all 3 days.
So here's this fun little curse that I have. Literally since I was probably about 5 or 6, every time I go camping, there is rain. And I'm not just talking like it sprinkles a little bit. Just, I mean, boom. 2 hours of a solid rain. I have been camping through what I found out were tornadoes not that far away. Just torrential downpour. Like, the tent is flooded. All of your stuff is wet.
Okay, so this
that,
makes a lot of sense now. So you're not a camper just because
oh,
every time you've had the experience, it's never been like
a lifetime
yeah.
of negative experience,
Yes. Okay, that
just,
makes sense.
and, and not that the entire trip is terrible, but there's always something
Yeah.
that is such an event of like, this sucks. Why are we doing this? And even like when my in-laws had a camper and they would set it up for us
Yeah.
and we go to the camper and this is like my kids were pretty little.
Yeah.
Um, and again, you have a torrential downpour. So you're sitting in a camper knowing that, well, if we run out to the car, we're going to get drenched just going to the car
Yeah.
to try to drive somewhere else for
And do
something to
something.
do.
Yeah.
So you sit in the camper and you watch, Disney DVDs for half the day. And you're like, well, this is fun. Glad
Yeah.
we did this. Or you try to, well, do you guys want to play a game? No. I mean, it's all this. I'm like, this, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I have no desire.
That makes sense then. That makes sense then. I have not had the experiences. It sounds like you.
No. So if people
But-
said you want to go camping, no. Do you want to rent a cabin somewhere on a lake or sure? Yeah,
we've done
like
that. We've done that.
That sounds more reasonable to me.
Yeah, we've done that twice, right?
You and I? Yeah. Like when my friends had the cottage. Yeah.
Your friends had the cottage, and then we hung out with Aaron and his.
Yes.
And
that was a blast. Loved it.
Yeah. Okay. Except when we got drunk and decided to run and swim the lake.
Who got drunk and decided to go on the drunk?
You did too. Don't act like you were Mr. Perfect.
I was not as drunk as you are. I had to go to throw your ass out of the lake.
Yeah, but you also jumped in it. So don't give us any of that. You actually sliced up your foot pretty.
I did. It was
pretty
terrible.
hardcore. Pretty hardcore. You didn't feel it because the water was freezing and you were drunk.
Yep. Yeah. And then later on, I'm like, why is my foot still wet? What's all this red stuff?
That's not grenadine.
No, it wasn't.
No. All right. We don't have a lot to talk about. Did you watch Kenobi?
I did. Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Overall.
Taking it front to back, it was good. I mean, it was a Star Wars series. Was it groundbreaking? No, there's much better TV out there if you're looking for pure entertainment value.
Yeah.
It was 6 episodes that I probably could have been 4 or could have just been a standalone 2-hour movie.
Yep.
And I really liked the scene at the end. Spoiler alert for all that didn't see it yet. The fight scene between Vader and
that was
Obi-Wan,
cool.
Where we actually see Anakin and how they played with the lighting between it going between Anakin and Vader and really making you feel how broken. I mean, Anakin's still in there. He is just so broken.
Yeah.
And you're like, I like that. I thought that was good. I think we need more of that emotional side.
Yeah. I did like how Vader was in this. When I was growing up, I've already seen all the Star Wars. I thought it was so cool, but it didn't affect me the way it affected my sister and my friends like you.
Yep.
It didn't affect me that way. And so when I would hear these fights like, Captain America versus Vader, I'm like, we take away his sword, he's nothing. And that's how I always felt.
Sure.
Right. Because they never showed it in the movies that much.
No,
everybody else
didn't.
got how much Vader was a badass by like comic books and continuing stories. And I like how they're actually showing that badass that I've heard my whole life about him, but have never seen.
When he grabbed the ship.
Yeah, grab the ship and
pulled it down or ripped it apart.
And how
cool.
And how he can just in the middle of a fight stop this saber from coming at him and throw the guy off. And the only thing that sucks is if you watch that epic last fight between Obi-Wan and Vader on the Death Star, you're like, oh my god. Well, it
was a different time. Yeah.
Very big different time.
Movie fights were very different,
very
choreographed at that time.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna throw something.
But yeah,
in there.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I don't know if it deserves a second season. I don't know what are you gonna do now? Like he was
I
walking
don't
into the mountains. So what are you gonna do
I
now?
don't know. I think
You know,
I think there's story there if you get the right creator and writer to do something. And I was watching a thing today where a guy was talking about he was talking about the difference between Marvel and DC, but I think we can throw Star Wars in there as well. When they're coming up with these story, what's the story going to be for a next season or for a next movie? Bringing in, you know, Star Wars authors and Star Wars creators instead of just like a regular guy or having the studio people be in
right,
charge of it.
right.
And I think they're almost there with like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni kind of running the whole show for Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy, go away. But the idea of like we're going to bring in these other storytellers that have a track record of being able to tell these types of stories. That's where Marvel excelled, is when they were making their movies even 10 years ago, they were consulting with comic book writers and creators saying, this is a story that hit really well. The reason Winter Soldier was pretty much just lifted right out of the comics and put into the movies. It was one of the biggest Captain America stories ever.
Yeah.
So
because
that's
it broke
what
a
they
rule.
did.
Because it broke a rule, right? Yeah.
Yep. And so that's what they did. And it's like, that's cool. DC hasn't done that. DC hasn't, you know, they've got studio heads making story decisions, which is why their movies don't really do so well.
Right.
But I think with
That's a good
Star
point.
Wars,
That's a
Star
good
Wars
point.
has a lot of opportunity there. I still would want to see them spread out to non-Skywalker based heroes.
Me too.
So, you know,
And nobody related to the Palpatine or Solo. I don't need any of these related.
And I mean, they've got that. I mean, they've got a whole series of novels. I mean, Wedge Antilles has an entire series of novels called Rogue Squadron, which we were told we were going to get a movie of, and that's totally on hold right now.
Yeah.
But Wedge is like a background character. He's like the admiral of the Republic fleet,
right?
The Rebellion fleet.
Yeah.
And he got his Top Gun type pilots because that's what Rogue Squadron should be.
Was.
It should be Top
Gun of Star Wars
in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it turns out one of the top pilots is actually force sensitive, which is why he's so good as a pilot, and is recruited by Luke to become one of the first new Jedi in the New Jedi Order. See, it's like Skywalker adjacent.
Yeah,
and I think
I see.
So there's enough there for the old school people to be like, oh, I know these characters.
Yeah.
I want to see more about them. But then all these new characters that were in the novels that I think, you know, kids would get really excited about, or the younger crew would get excited about. And people that even like read the novels were like, oh, yes, we're finally going to get Corran Horn. That's awesome. I think there's a lot of story there that they could do.
Yeah, I agree. I think they kind of did it. I wish I would have seen more of a live version of it. Was that Bad Batch? It's kind of like a rogue Navy SEALs type of stormtrooper group. That was a cool story, and I don't think that had anything to do with any Skywalkers.
Nope, not at all.
That was and that's pretty solid.
And I honestly I haven't watched it, but I know it doesn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah,
it's Clone War stuff.
Oh no, well it has to do. Yeah, it's Clone War stuff. It has to do with Order 66.
Okay.
Yeah,
but so still, I wouldn't call that a Skywalker thing. It's just
no. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Do you know anything about it?
About the Bad Batch?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know the premise.
Okay. Yeah. Like they didn't do Order 66. They're malfunctioned or something. They're malfunctioning clones.
Yeah. So the Bad Batch was when like middle of the Clone Wars, they started to kind of tweak the formula to the clones to try to make specialists.
Yes.
So you had like one guy who's really good at stealth, or you had like the really big, strong guy.
Right.
And then they scrapped the program because they're like, no, these guys are getting harder to control.
Right.
Because of the differences that we're putting in there. So more,
let's put them back to stormtroopers.
We need the clone troopers who we can control.
Right.
And so the Bad Batch was just kept as like this mercenary black ops group.
Yeah.
and then they go rogue. So
yeah, that's cool. Anybody else out there that like to
chime in? What are you watching?
What would you like
reading?
to see? Yeah, what are you watching? What are you reading? What would you like to see differently?
I haven't watched this week's episode yet, but I really am liking The Old Man on
Oh, thank you, Greg.
On,
yes, I've watched them all so far. You haven't watched episode 3?
No, not yet. We're gonna watch it tonight.
Okay. Let me know. I will tell you there's a twist. Let me know what it is. Let me know what you think.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool.
We talked about it, I think, last episode or so before about
Jeff Bridges and John
Bridges
Lithgow.
just killing it. Yeah. I mean, but the story is like it takes off right away. Like there is no waiting around for anything to develop or anything like that.
I agree.
It is, hey, here's this old guy. Oh, he's actually like an ex assassin, Navy SEAL,
Black Ops, Black Ops, CIA,
Black Ops guy.
He's Jason Bourne. He probably trained Jason Bourne.
He's like 1960s, 1970s Jason Bourne.
Yeah,
and now they're after him again, and he's like, "Oh, got to put the old gear back on." And he's, I mean, which is great.
I heard a review where they didn't like it because Jeff Bridges was beating up everybody, and I went, no, he's barely hanging on with these guys.
He is like,
I was like, what are you talking about? And then Ursula, I said, Ursula, you gotta watch this. I really like this show. You gotta watch this. She goes, okay. So she watched it. She goes, that was kind of slow. Like, I'm like, what are you talking about? He killed 3 guys. What are you talking about? She goes, yeah, when you say it like that, yeah, that happened. I was just like, so she's not really into it, but I was into it. I was like, this is really good. I remember I sent Greg a text and I was like, Greg, watch The Old Man. This is really cool. So I think we can just appreciate it. That's all.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I've seen videos of like elderly boxers, like, you know, some 70-year-old Mexican boxer who is like got his arms up and fighting like some young 20-something guy, and they're sparring, and the guy's like, you know, he's bouncing around, he's doing his thing, and the old guy's just kind of, then he goes boom and just tags the guy.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, what? I mean, so the whole age versus experience, I mean, age has a lot to do with it, but the experience of the old boxer just tagging this guy left and right. Is the guy's dancing around him doing his thing, and he's just picking his shots, and I thought it was cool.
You know what I wonder when how much of this is, I mean, because look, man, from the beginning of James Bond, we've gotten super spies, right? And they've elevated, and they've gotten bigger, and they've gotten badder, and they've gotten like almost indestructible.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always sat there and really wondered, okay, what's the difference between the military trained and CIA Black Ops trained? Like, what's really the difference that makes them all of a sudden, like, I remember, and I know it's a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in I think it was the second Jason Bourne, when he's going for a jog in the beginning, and he just happened to be drinking water and looks over and notices a guy and knows instantly that motherfucker's coming for me.
Yeah,
that guy's looking specifically for me. Or there are moments you've seen the first 2 episodes. There are moments in The Old Man where he knows I got to move.
Yeah.
Like,
I think you're right. I think that's interesting because, like, you watch interviews with, you know, ex Navy SEALs or things like that. And these guys, you know, these kind of operators are even in their 50s, pretty fit.
Yep.
And looking at pictures of them in their 20s, and you're like, super fit.
Yep.
I mean, it's that Captain America level kind of guy. And then you look at interviews with, like, you know, CIA guys in their 50s and 60s, and even in their 20s, pot belly, going bald, you know, I mean, they are intelligence driven.
Right.
But the guy's talking about, I had to kill 3 people to get out of there. And you're going, so, I mean, looking like your accountant's just going to take down, you know, 3 dudes, and you're going, I don't know. It is, you know, it is the art of deception. I think it's the idea of,
you would never expect that pot belly accountant to kick your ass.
Yeah. I mean, to be able to move or do stuff, or I think it's, Yeah, I think it's just a very different
Yeah.
feel.
Where they say the operators, from what I've understood, and I've met a couple, not I haven't met anybody that I know that is, oh no, I did. That guy, I didn't expect it. But I met him. He couldn't tell me. I tried to get him on our podcast. He's like, dude, I can't come on and talk about this.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now either he was bullshitting me or
I would probably believe that there's
what I mean by bullshitting me is I could sit there and say I'm a Navy SEAL, and the guy goes, oh, I want to get to my podcast, and I can sit there and say, oh, I can't.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. But anyway, but most of the operators I've met, they're very cool, but you can tell that it's like deep water in like that. One of my friend always says the quietest water is always the deepest.
Okay.
He told me that once. And I never forgot that. So the guys that are always talking about how badass they are and stuff like that, my one friend told me like those are the guys that usually flunk out.
Yeah.
So, but okay, my point is an operator like that, they're very cool and calm, but you can tell.
Oh yeah, they have
this
aura about them.
Yeah, or I think they call it, what is it, the 1,000-yard stare?
Yeah.
Right. They have this something about them that makes like, hey, he's cool to hang out with and he can like pound down some beers, but I wouldn't push him,
Yeah.
Whereas I think you're right. The CIA guy is like, it would be like all of us going to our Gen Con and one of us is a super spy and we have no idea.
Right. And
but I just wonder what the training's like. Is it just an appearance, or is it the training of like that? Like, how does this, like, again, and all I'm going off of is really movies
Hollywood?
and some History Channel stuff where they talk about what they did in the Cold War.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of mental training. And,
is it? Okay.
And a lot of like, not just mental toughness, but like putting you through the ringer, almost like at a torture level. And then
they have to be like MacGyvers too, right?
I think a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
The
fucking pencil,
the Jack Ryan movie that Chris Pine did,
mm-hmm.
where it's like the making of Jack Ryan, where he's an analyst. He's a Marine Corps guy that, he's a pilot and then he gets out and then he learns how to walk and then he's an analyst. He's doing like accountant kind of stuff.
Right.
And I think it's more like the fact, take on Chris Pine and insert Seth Rogen, type. Yeah. And that's the kind of guy that you could see in the CIA.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Along with those Captain America types, I think they're certainly in there.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to work intelligence, you want to be unassuming. You don't want to stand out in a crowd.
No, I think the title is Gray Man. You don't want to stick out. You just nobody ever sees you.
Well, it's the Men in Black kind of.
Yeah. Thing. I don't know. I've just always wondered, like, okay, could Jason Bourne take on like a Navy SEAL? Now, according to what we see in movies, absolutely, he could take on 60.
Well, yeah.
But my thought is, okay, in realistic thing, in a realistic spy versus a realistic SEAL, are we just expecting a spy, or I should say me, am I just expecting a spy to be like Jason Bourne when they don't even handle themselves like that?
I think so.
It's very much like there's in this whole, like, you touch me and I can take you down in 3 seconds.
No,
of a,
in terms of a
get out of trouble.
In terms of a spy, it's more like, was it Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy?
Yes. Like, oh yes. Okay. I know.
That's the reality of a spy.
Right.
So
not
Tom
spy.
So the Tom Hanks movie with the bridge. I can't remember the name of it.
Wait. Yes, I know.
Where it's transferring over the Berlin Wall.
Yes.
Damn it. It's something. Oh, I can't believe it.
Yes. If you guys know, let us know.
But I think that's That's more the reality of spy.
Of spy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So or maybe I'm saying the wrong word. Maybe not spy, maybe not analyst. I'm talking about CIA black ops assassin. Do they take it from the SEALs? Or do they take people that have done their time and now you are now a black ops guy and we'll train you a little bit differently and how to, I don't know.
I don't
walk
know.
through a cloud with walk through a crowd with a trench coat.
Bridge of Spies is the name of the movie.
Yes, that's a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not as well versed in
neither
spycraft.
That's all right. Neither am I. That's a cool little museum though.
Spy museum?
Yeah. That's a
Where
cool
is that?
museum. I have no idea. I haven't gone to it, but I've seen it. I've seen it on the History Channel. Like they have the spy museum where they show you like stuff they actually had for the Cold War.
It's in Washington, D.C.
It's a very interesting time in our
Cold
history.
War. Yeah,
the Cold War. Very interesting time. Yeah.
Well, I think we're about ready to head back into it. So
yeah, sounds like it. If we're not already there,
that could be it. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of it, I think we're good.
Yeah,
I think we're good. So thank you for hanging out with us, guys. As always, Greg, take us out.
Don't be a douche, especially this week. Yeah, I even put out a special video about this earlier of like, there are so many things out there. You don't know people's backgrounds. You don't know their stories. You may think you do, but probably don't know the whole thing. So approach people with an open mind that you don't know what they've gone through and have a meaningful conversation instead of just spouting off rhetoric. And as you're doing that, don't be a douche.
Yeah. And I will add a little bit to that in terms of, let's say you even do know their story and you think whatever they've gone through doesn't mean it's not a big deal to you. It's probably a big deal to them. It's their story. Yep. So, that's it. So for the Greg, this is Johnny saying podcast out. Thank you very much. Take care, everybody. Have a good week.
See ya.